Mentoring the Mentee is a mini docudrama which unmasks the emotional and psychological trauma of sexual grooming. This mini docudrama explores the vulnerabilities of the Mentee and the signs of sexual grooming.
The taxi drivers start picking up the school girls to drop them off to school and start chit-chatting them, or we say chatting them up, and that is how they one of the main ways of getting to the girls. And then what they tend to do sometimes is either before school or after school, have that person as the last person they drop off, and then take that person to wherever secluded spots.
Clients come to me and they're here because they're having relationship issues, and it has gotten to a point where things are just very unsettling for them. They can't put a finger on exactly what it is. There are lots of highs and lows in their relationship, and basically it's a toxic relationship, but mostly it's a relationship that represents that dynamics in terms of power and control, where they're not the ones that are exercising that power, and really you see a lot of that abusive patterns. And when we get into a lot of the dynamics of what they would have experienced not in their relationships, and even when we take it back to childhood, you see in the childhood aspect a lot of that vulnerability and that need coming out, and the gaps really where those needs were not met in their parent-child relationships, and where they're really using relationships to fill those needs. What they would not have really recognized by the time we assess and go through some of the characteristics of the relationship, its patterns, it comes out that really they're in abusive relationships where they really would have been groomed. They would have been assessed, sized up by their now boyfriend, their relationship partner, and put in a place where they would have been mentally, psychologically groomed over time. Because grooming can really take place from weeks to years, and they would have been put in that place where they are being manipulated, they are being exploited, and instances have arisen, yes, of where sexual abuse have taken place as well. So a lot of times when we think of grooming, we think it's limited to children, to where there's an adult child perpetrator, and that exists, yes, but a lot of times we underestimate what I would call some of those hidden figures in grooming that occurs in adult relationships.
Roots Foundation, we take particular interest in how we treat with our mentees, with our young charges. We at Roots Foundation, we sign a code of conduct for dealing with young people. And every one of us in this organization who goes out there in the role of a mentor, in the role of a facilitator, we undergo a training on ethics, morals, values, how to interact with young people, what to say, what not to say, And once you have these parameters in place, it could help reduce any instances of persons abusing their power. Because when you are mentoring someone, you become, for that person, the most important person in that individual's life. They depend on you, they trust you.
Under the Trafficking in Persons Act, there is a provision, Section 17 and Section 19, that deals with the whole issue of the exploitation of children. And you'd be surprised to know that where a person is grooming this child for sexual servitude or domestic servitude, that person could actually be charged under the Trafficking in Persons Act. It was part of the plan of putting this child or person in a vulnerable position to take advantage of them. We played a video testimony of a child saying She had some major daddy issues and so on, and she was into cutting herself and all these things. This trafficker knew where he needed to go to get into the psychological well-being of the child, to get her to that place where where she feels that he's looking after her interests, when in truth and in fact, he is actually looking after his own interests, right? If that particular person didn't want to prostitute her, because it doesn't have to be prostitution, it could only necessarily be where you are keeping this person under a state of control to serve your own sexual needs, then you could have a trafficking in persons case being made out.
Tried telling my mother about the shadows that mock me, how they use her face to get into my head, but the words never got past her mindset, so I set out to search for someone to listen, someone to take care of me. And he was the closest thing to father I'd ever found, taught me to brace myself for the kickback of a gun, but he was also teaching me to take a slap from him and smile. He made me feel wanted. That is long enough for me to forget what he did. And isn't that what fathers do? Teach you to protect you.